let's see if our guest is on here today. Here's a picture of her, but I think we've got her live on the webcam today. So I'm going to pause this just for a second and go back and make sure that she actually shows up there. Jana, hey, there you are.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for having me today. This is exciting.
Yes, we were just talking earlier that it's been a year. It was February of last year. I look back. I can't believe It's been that long, because I remember seeing Jack come into the room. That's not her husband, by the way. That's her dog.
He's well behaved right now, so hopefully he might say hi again.
and the cat wandered by. I saw the tail of the cat go by. Yeah, so.
Yes, my little fur baby. Yep.
I think you're in a little different position there. That's still your home?
Yes, it's still my home. I'm in my front room. The lighting's a little bit better here, so. Yeah.
Well, good. No, it's good lighting and everything for these. Everybody has learned a little bit more about how to do these Zoom meetings and things because of the COVID thing. And so I'm going to give the opportunity for everybody on here today to ask all the questions they want of Jana. I'm going to stop this picture. They don't need to see a picture of us and a video at the same time. There we go. And I'll get back to some slides that I have there, some of the pictures and things that we used last time I want to show them, Jana. But let me just start by letting you freely tell the people, what you were doing when you were looking into this business, and why did you choose, to do medical billing out of your home?
Well, I was actually a teacher before we found ABS. My husband and I had always kind of talked about wanting to have a business that we could have that's our own. And I got to the point where I needed to step away from teaching. It got to the point where, I didn't have a lot of choices. I felt like I was working really, really hard, but not able to kind of build a dream that I was looking to build with my husband, and wanted to do something different. And so he was the one who was doing the research. And we found ABS, and this is a way for me to work from my home. And he's still working his full-time job as I'm building the business, but it was a really great way for me to stay home and build something that we both could share together. So
I guess if you were doing virtual classrooms as a teacher, you could work from your home, but that sounds like a tough way to go to me.
Right? But I don't know if I'd want to be doing that right now, though. I've heard it's very, very difficult. So I'm kind of like, whew, dodged a bullet there. So yeah.
We live in an area where my grandkids, well, some of them are homeschooled, but my daughter has a daughter who goes to public school. They space everybody out, and everybody's wearing masks, and they've been doing that for I guess since September, and it's been fine. There's been no incidences of the COVID. So it just depends on the area of the country you're living in.
Yep. Yeah, it's a lot of, but anyway, it's all good.
Well, speaking of that, what has that done for your business? How has this COVID virus affected your business?
Well, actually, it's kind of benefited my business. I know it wasn't the same for all, but I ended up, there was a billing company in town that ended up closing their doors because of COVID. They had a lot of specialty doctors, and they were towards the end of their career. They'd been doing it for about 30, almost 40 years. And so they decided to close in December, and I ended up getting 3 of their clients. So, and that was a big boom for our business. So that was pretty exciting. So I haven't seen a real issue with COVID, and I think too that because they've been able to kind of pivot and incorporate more of the virtual doctor visits, it's actually worked really well, other than having to learn how to code and what the payers want, and how it affects the doctor's reimbursement. Other than that, that's really the only thing, but it's been fairly good too. I know that sounds horrible to say, but it's been, good for us. It's an awkward way of,
It's funny that you say that, though, because everybody that I've talked to, as you know, we're partners with Dr. Vicki Ratner, who has written some books with me, and she's also on our advisory board for the MIRMA organization. She says, Pat, my business tripled last year. there was that big a demand to know from doctors, how do I get my cash flow underhand? You know, she works with financial consultants that work with doctors. And she says there's just a huge demand because since their practice is kind of slowed down, they weren't seeing as many patients, then they basically had the time to look into their finances and get some of that stuff, investments in order, you know.
Yes,
so,
yeah.
And I've interviewed several licensees that have told me, even just about maybe a month or two ago, were you on there on the panel discussion with Laura Dean? I think you were on there.
Yeah, just recently, the round table. I was on the recent round table.
Yeah. Folks, we're talking about a webinar basically that we do with licensees from time to time. Like Jana, we invite them on to tell their story and just kind of get their views on what's going on. And it was right in the middle of the COVID thing last year, I think sometime. And I remember you being on there. Laura was on there. She had just signed up 3 clients the week before. So it was pretty good for her. Did I say Laura? Yeah, you're Jana. Okay. Sometimes I get those confused. But I don't know what there is about this business. This business is just almost recession proof. I guess it's because people are going to get sick no matter what. And when there's a pandemic, they're even getting more sick. And so there's an awareness in people's minds, in everybody's minds, that our healthcare system is pretty important. It's fragile because of the fact that, you know, something like this can happen and all of a sudden people don't go to the doctor's office. They want to do it all, you know, over the telemedicine stuff. But hey, somehow we make it through this stuff. And as a company, American Business Systems has boomed this past year too. So I guess it's a good thing for some people. It's a bad thing, of course, for many other people in the restaurant business and movie theaters and travel and all kinds of stuff. I wouldn't want to be in any of those businesses right now.
It's tough. It is.
All right, let's see. There are some questions coming in here, so I'm going to address some of these directly to you, Jana. They're typing them in, and I'm just going to take them, folks, as they come in. So the faster you get a question in, the better. This is from Alan. He says, how long did it take you to get your first client after you began marketing?
So this is different for everybody. We started off we became licensees in I think it was 2018, January 2018. I was working part-time. My husband was working his job full-time. So we tried to do a lot of, you know, trying to do two things at once. At least for me, I was trying to do, you know, going out and marketing and then also teaching part-time. And I had to retrain my brain. So it took me some time. And I know this isn't true for all licensees. This is my personal story. I had to overcome a fear of not knowing a lot about something that I was walking into and stepping into, talking to doctors about something I was very unfamiliar with. I had to decide that this was what we were really going to do and what did I need to do in order to become better at it. And so I worked really hard for the first, I'd say 2 years. And I know I think that's longer than most people, but I think it was what I needed for my own growth. I actually took a course with AAPC and became a professional biller. I did a lot of studying, researching, and learning how to market, learning how to kind of change my focus from being a teacher where you show up, students are there, you get paid regardless, right?
Right.
To, oh, if I don't market, I'm never going to get a client, right? And so it's, you know, I'm not going to get paid if I don't actually put myself out there. So right. I had to personally overcome a lot of internal dialogue, which your CD that you have and your book, we read your book, and I, you know, that was part of it, is learning how to talk and generate positive thoughts and seeing the outcome and just working through those hurdles. And that was probably the hardest part. And I always equate it, and I said it on the round table too, and you hear it everywhere. I didn't come up with this analogy, but, you know, pumping a water pump, you know, that has to go all the way down to the ground to get, you know, into the ground to get water. And you're just forever, just so much effort in the beginning. And then finally you get just a little trickle of water and you're like, really, all that effort for just that little bit of water and you can stop, but you're just that close to it just gushing out. And that's exactly what happened. So, I did I tried a lot of different things. The things that were successful for me was I signed up for business networking, BNI, and there's a lot of business networking groups, but that one worked for me. And the reason why it worked so well was because I was in a safe place to start talking about something that I was learning about. And the people that I was with and talked to, they embraced me. And so when I fumbled or said something wrong or didn't quite know how to explain something, I was in a safe place. And the more and more I talked, the more and more I gained confidence. So that really helped. And what I ended up doing was going to every single BNI meeting in the area. And so I met with everyone, financial planners, bookkeepers, anyone who could have doctors as their clients. And my very first referral ended up opening up a huge door for me. And I ended up getting the 3 clients that I just got recently because of that one referral. So wow. that was huge for me. And then the other thing that I did was I joined MGMA, and which is the where's my cat?
Medical Group Management Association.
Yes, thank you for practice managers, because those are the people that you want to support, is the practice managers, and then indirectly support them, which would directly support the doctor. And I ended up going to every lunch meeting they had. I went to every mixer they had, and I found another client there as well who brought me on, and it was great. So I think it's just the idea of just going out there and working hard, and your opportunities will come. You just got to keep on keeping on. So
yeah, it's like everybody says, it's funny, the harder I work, the luckier I get. And
exactly.
It's true with this business, just like any other business, that if you put some time and effort into it, if you can follow our system that we've laid out for people, then it does work. It takes longer for some than others, of course. We've interviewed people who've gone through training, and the next 2 weeks they've got a client. They had some connections probably,
Yeah. And I was always very jealous of those people. I was like, this is never, because when I first was like trying to work through it, that was my thought, was like, well, it was just handed to them. They was so easy. And then I realized that, people would now look at me and going, well, it was just handed to you. It was so easy. And I'm like, no, but it wasn't. It's the idea of you're right. Your luck comes when you just keep putting yourself out there and you keep making the opportunities come to you, as opposed to waiting for them to just appear, because life doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's the same with us as a company. We've been around for 27 years, and people think, oh, that's great, so that was just kind of handed to you. No, that was a 27-year overnight success story.
Exactly. Yeah. Very rarely is anything really overnight. And anybody who has the connections already did all the pre-work to get to those connections. So it's
right.
Whether it's pre-licensee or post-licensee, it's all the networking.
Yeah. Now I wanted to show people that your husband really is real, so here he is.
Yes, that's him.
I think you sent me this picture. I don't think that was taken when you were down here.
No, that's a paint night. We went and did one of those paint nights.
You mean drinking nights?
Oh yeah. Yeah, in order for your painting to turn out well, you gotta get a little bit.
Yeah, I took my grandkids to one of those. Those were a lot of fun. Yeah.
They're a lot of fun.
So Tag is just basically, he's keeping his day job as you build this thing. Could you see it somewhere down the line? Him wanting to just join you in the business and build this thing huge and then sell it and go live in Maui?
Oh yeah, he talks about all the time. He goes, bring me home, bring me home. I mean, he loves his job. He loves the people that he works with. But I think we look forward to when we can call the shots on our day. What time, what we do with our time, what we do with our, all of that. That's the dream we're looking for. So
that's what everybody wants. Yeah. Now here's a question that came in from Dimitri. He says, do you advertise your services via the internet? You have a website, don't you?
I do have a website, yes. And I actually haven't gotten any responses really from it. It's just somewhere, so people can go to look at it and see what we have to offer if anybody wanted to go there. But I haven't had anybody say, contact me on my website for our services. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't work, because I have talked to other licensees. That's all they use, and that's all they've got. They've gotten their clients that way, because for them, walking into doctors' offices just wasn't something that they were going to do, and it works. So I think it just depends on how you do it. I wouldn't be the right person to talk to using SEO, I guess. See, I don't even know the words, but
that's it. Search engine optimization. Yeah. Well, I think it's Wendy Bruno, one of our licensees that's been with us for a few years. I think that's her husband was kind of an expert in computer stuff, and all of their clients, and they've got dozens, have come directly from what he can do to promote the website, because it's kind of like sticking a sign out in the middle of Kansas. Nobody's going to know you're in business unless you get people to go see the sign, at least. And that's what he does. He knows how to get traffic, to the site.
Yeah. So if you get the right people to help you to do it, I know it. I've heard, like you said, it works, but I didn't use that. No.
Yeah. Everybody uses different methods, Dimitri. We teach about a dozen different ways to go out and connect with people in your community. That's the primary way we teach, is through networking. Jana's already mentioned that. You can even do that virtually nowadays on LinkedIn and Facebook. You can bring people to your site there and join communities, and then just share what you do with them. And all of a sudden you're networking. It's just a virtual networking instead of a face-to-face. Yeah. Oh yeah. Nevin says, yes, you would have to use SEO. Because again, your website's just out there, it gets lost, on the internet. Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's another picture you'll remember probably.
Oh yeah.
Now, this is her and her husband, Tig, but they're actually standing there with me after we did a live training down here in Fort Worth. We used to do it at a hotel. This seems like years ago to me, but it was just the year before last, of course, that we stopped doing the training. And so they came down. You sat through the training it was a week, right? A whole 5 days.
That was great. Yeah.
And it's a good experience.
That was a fun week.
Yeah, it's a good way to get started. But at some point, even before the COVID came up in the later part of 2019, we started saying, why do we have people get on a plane, fly down here, stay at a hotel for a week, all the costs involved in that, plus trying to arrange for kids and things like that. So we just said, okay, why can't we take everything we teach and just do it one-on-one with people in a virtual situation? And so that's what we do now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I think your instructor, Cynthia, was teaching back then live classes. Now she does the online virtual training, and she says, I love it too, because I don't have to leave my home here in Phoenix, and go out there to Fort Worth. She says it was a nice break to get away from my 2 boys. Oh, well, 3 boys, her husband. But she says, I still love doing it right here at my home, anytime, day or night,
Yeah, it is nice. Definitely.
Yeah, so let's see, here's another question. Says, this is Suzanne. She says, how much time do you put in daily on your business? Is this really full-time or part-time?
It really depends. Right now, it's overtime. And that's because I have a few, I just got an influx of clients, and now I'm bringing on employees part-time. And so I'm building a structure, but that's the beauty of it, is you get to build it how you want it. So if you don't want to work full-time, you don't have to. You have to work yourself into that position. Right now I'm putting all the work in, but eventually my goal is to get my billers underneath me and being able to manage the quality of their work, make sure my clients are happy, but not have to be in the nitty-gritty of sending out claims and following up and all that. So
yeah, you get to a point where when you've done enough claims yourself, you kind of know what the system's all about. You know how to teach other people to do it, and you can support those people. But you can find people to do medical billing fairly simply out there on the internet. There's lots of people that love to work from home, So
yeah, and that's the beauty of it, is they can work from home. You can build it, where you have a physical site where all of your billers come to a physical site, or they can work from home and everything's remotely. So that's
right.
now.
Yeah. Zarifa, I think you're asking a question here that you probably ought to ask directly to your ABS representative. It's about money and what it took to get started. Uh, Actually, she's asking where did you get the funds to actually cover the cost of the money. Well, we have sources that people can go to if they have good credit. For example, you can get a loan, but we tell people the best way to do that. I don't know if you did this or not, but we tell them to just put it on your credit card. That's your best credit, easy access to credit if you've got enough credit on the card to do that. But we might address one of her thoughts might be, Jana, what was it that what other costs did you have besides our license fee, which was probably about 28,000, I think, when you got involved. What else did you have to spend money on? Computer, phones, fax machines, printers.
Yeah, well, at first you're doing a lot of marketing, so you want to find marketing ideas that work for you. We invested in our BNI membership, the MGMA membership, a lot of memberships, but I don't feel like there was a lot of money going out. I mean, it just really depends on how quickly you start getting money in. I think that's the big thing. But there's not, I mean, yes, and I ended up taking a couple courses, which isn't necessary, but I felt like I wanted, if I'm going to be managing billers, I want to know how to do it right. So I ended up going and getting, an education on that. So it just depends on what it is you're looking for. But investing in your business is, you look at the ROI, like, that was invaluable to me. Like I felt more confident. I was able to talk to doctors and not feel like, I was just kind of faking it. I actually knew what they were talking about. And that was important for me. So it was worth the money. But, it just depends. We already had a computer, so I used that for a while. And then once I finally, signed on a client, that's when I started investing in computers and 2 screens and, that kind of a thing. Actually, the cool thing is this company that just went out of business. I asked them, I'm like, do you have anything? They were giving everything away. So I got a new printer, I got a sonic wall, I got like all this stuff. And I'm like, that's again, like opportunities. Like if you just look for them, or just kind of stay open to them, things happen. And I just ended up asking, I'm like, hey, are you getting rid of anything? And I was willing to buy it. And they're like, take it. I'm like, okay. I don't know why.
Did you say had they been in business for a while?
38 years. So.
Oh, really? They were in medical billing for 38 years. Well, maybe that person was just tired, wanted to retire. Who knows?
They're just, I'm done. Yeah. I'm ready. They were going to move to Maine and design their camp. I guess everybody out in Maine has camps and stuff. But yeah, so
maybe she gave some of her clients away and sold some of them, and maybe she walked away with a little cash there, hopefully.
Yeah. Either way, it worked out. It worked out for us. So I'm like, okay, that's fine.
Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was done.
All right. This is from Arfin. Arfin says, how many doctors can you handle without having someone to help? In other words, if you were just doing all the billing yourself, have you thought about that?
It really depends on how. It depends. That's a very tough question. I've heard that it's around 3. But again, how many claims are they sending out? How well do you know the billing? Like right now, I'm really learning how to bill for a podiatrist. And I've got tons of support. That's the great thing about ABS support is that the licensees are just so willing to help you. And I'm working with one right now who's teaching me how to bill for a podiatrist. So when I was offered a job, a client was like, well, do you bill for podiatrist? It's like, well, I hadn't, but I knew the support was there. So I was able to say, yes, I have a team member who is billed for podiatry, and we've been learning, and she's been teaching me, and I was able to hire her to help me, and it was great. So I've got the support, and I was able to say yes with confidence. And so sorry, the question was how many. So I think once I had 2 clients for a while, and that was easy to handle. And then once I got there's one particular client who's internal medicine, and he spits out a lot of claims. And that was when it kind of was like, okay, I really need to bring somebody on to help me. So it really depends on how many claims they they submit weekly, and then, you know, just the needs of each doctor and client. But I would say 2 to 3. And then once you get, you know, team members on board, then you can disseminate like what jobs are they're going to have. So like this person's going to, you know, send out the claims. This person's going to, you know, post the payments, and then it flows, so you can actually have more people, less people with more clients, if that makes sense. But you can organize.
I've had licensees tell me that they do the billing up to, you know, even 6 or 7 or 8 clients, but it depends on the volume of those clients. Maybe they're all small specialties that don't do large volume. Like if it's a surgeon, they might not do a lot of volume of claims, but they might do large dollar volume because those surgeries are expensive, you know.
Right, exactly. So it just really depends. But yeah, I'd say 3 to 5.
Yeah. All right, and here's Anna says, what types of practices do you bill for? What types of doctors?
So my first client that I signed is a pain management doctor in Texas, actually. And then I have a family practice, internal, and then podiatrists. So I'm learning that you want to decide if you want a niche. Is that the niche? But
yeah.
You know, like I know some licensees just bill for podiatrists or just bill for, you know, whatever. They find their specialty, they learn how to do that, they dial it in, and that's what they market. Whereas other licensees market all kinds of billing, and they bring on all kinds of, you know, specialties, and then they have people that they hire on that learn the specialties, and those are the ones who take on those clients as their account.
Yeah.
So I think it just really depends, but I guess we're going the route of learn it. I mean, bring them on and learn it. So I mean, it's going one route, but for right now, it's fine.
That's the way I'd look at it. I'd say, just bring me a client. I'll learn, or I'll find somebody who does know. And that's one thing you mentioned, Jana, that people don't realize if they haven't been listening to our webinars. Folks, we have a nationwide network, the largest network of independent medical billing owners in the United States. ABS is that support group. So you have a doctor who, you know, comes on to you and says, okay, I'm a podiatrist. Can you do podiatry billing? And you go, well, I don't know. That sounds different than saying, yes, of course. We have team members that are specialists in that. And we do. They're part of our network, and we put you in contact with other people who can even, you know, help you and coach you as to how to get started with that particular type of specialty. That's the difference between starting this business on your own versus going with a prepackaged, I guess, a business in a box like we have, you know.
Which I would never have done this on my own, ever. Like,
yeah.
No. Because there's so much that goes to it, like learning how to market, learning how to talk, learning how to, you know, all the forms and the HIPAA compliance stuff that you guys offer. I mean, there's just so much knowledge that comes from ABS, and I thought about that many times, that I never would have been able to figure it all out. And the support that you guys offer is incredible. So you guys were the only way that would make this possible for us.
You know, now that I look back, when Linda started doing billing, my wife, here in Fort Worth area, this was in the early 90s. And of course, not many doctors were outsourcing their billing. A lot of it was still done on paper. It wasn't electronic even. And so we had a huge learning curve there. Plus, we had to figure out, how do you market this to doctors? And that's the biggest hurdle, I guess, for most people, is how do I get the first client? How do I grow this thing? We tell them, once you get a doctor or two, you're going to get some referrals. People don't believe that until it happens, but it does happen, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Before you're ready. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay. So.
Yeah, maybe before you're even ready. We've had licensees call us up at support here and say, look, I've got a doctor that wants me to do their billing. I do a billing for a friend of theirs, and they recommended me, but I'm just not at the point where I can bring on another. What do we do? Well, as a part of our network, of course, we have other licensees that could handle the billing for you as a partner. You share in the profits until you get to the point where you think you could do that full time yourself, and then of course it's all in writing that you know the client is yours and you get it back whenever you want to. So it can be done, but it's it's a challenge sometimes to manage growth. That's the biggest problem people don't think about starting a new business. What happens when I get to a point where I don't want to put in that many more hours a week? I'm putting in my 60 hours, 70 hours now. I don't want to put any more in. So
you're right, right.
Let's see. Here's a question from Dimitri. He says, Jana, can you manage other providers? I mean, for example, durable medical equipment stores and pharmacies. Have you done billing for any of those? Durable medical equipment?
Podiatrists do bill out medical or durable medical equipment. Very
That's
little,
true.
but I don't know. I don't know. You might be able to do that.
We have licensees who specialize in durable medical equipment companies. That was kind of, one lady has kind of a background in that, Jana Malinowski. She's up in Ohio. I'll never forget interviewing her and her just saying, yeah, I just focused on that and figured out how to do it. And I can now do it for anybody because I figured it out,
Yep.
And
figuring out. Yeah.
Same way with pharmacies. Yes, pharmacies do billing on the same forms that doctors do the billing on for Medicare.
Okay.
And so, yeah, there's licensees who do billing for pharmacies as well. Good question, Dimitri. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the beauty of ABS is you can kind of do whatever you like whatever works for you. I know that there's licensees that just do credentialing or contracting for doctors, and you get to build your business the way you want, which is the beauty of it.
We have a fellow who actually works with ABS now. He's a contractor, but he's we think of him as our vice president of support and training, Tim Warren. Him and his wife have been licensees for many, many years now. And he says, Patrick, I probably would not have gotten into this thing at all had it not been for the fact that you guys said that you would support us. And sure enough, he's now helping with that support. And it's been terrific for his business as well. And he started an answering service for doctors.
Yeah.
So he takes calls from patients. He deals with the patient's billing problems and stuff like that behind the scenes. Now he charges extra for that. So that's something that most licensees don't want to get involved in. But hey, like you said, you can do anything you want to with this business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Here's a good question from, let's see. This is from, I lost it there. Okay. This is from Dimitri also. It says, how long did you make a loss after starting your business? I think he wants to know, when did you see a return on your investment? Was that, did it take a year or two to do that?
For us, it took at least 2 years before we started paying back our investment.
Yeah.
But that was specific to me. That was, I had to overcome some hurdles mentally and, just shift and pivot from what I was doing to what I am doing now. And so it just took a while, but again, that's not for everybody.
So you're saying that stay in the mental hospital really did set you back some there on that.
Exactly.
You make it sound like, I had some mental stuff going on. Well,
no, it was just the idea of overcoming your own negative thoughts, the scary, I can't do this, and it's just the idea of feeling like you're going to die if you walk into the doctor's office because you're so terrified of saying the wrong thing. And,
right.
I just had to overcome all that and just learn to just do it, even if it's terrifying. And even if you mess it up, just do it. Learn from it and move on.
Hey, the worst thing could happen to you is they shoot you. And I don't think that's going to happen in a doctor's office. So.
No, usually they just look at you and then you turn around and walk away and you never see them again. So it's so funny because I went into 2 doctors. This is actually a funny story. I went into 2 doctors' offices and that exact same thing happened. I was just terrified. I didn't know what to say. I just kind of left stuff and turned around and walked away. They're both my clients.
Yeah.
A year later, they were referred to me and now they're my clients. They don't remember me coming in. I'm pretty sure because I feel like I was just, another person coming in trying to sell us something or, they just wipe it out of their mind. But now I'm billing for them. So it's weird. I kind of giggle oh, those two doctors, I went and dropped off stuff and nothing came of it. But 2 years later, they were referred to me.
Here they are.
Yeah.
It's a small world. Yeah.
It really is.
The medical world especially is that they're so integrated. Everybody knows everybody else. Seems like they have a lot of networking going on. And yeah. Oh, one of my folks here that's been on the webinars a lot his name is Nevin. He says he's reminding us when we brought up durable medical equipment that there's also hospice, nursing homes, clinics, DME, doctors, in-home care, et cetera, et cetera. And then he reminded me that we have a licensee. His name is Albert Ramos. I've interviewed him too in the past. It's been a while. I probably ought to get him back on here. But he specializes just in home health care, and he's making 7 figures.
Oh, I might have to call him because I have a doctor who does home health care, and I need to figure out how to bill for that.
There you go.
But I did skilled nursing. I had a doctor who needed me to do skilled nursing. That was my first like real billing experience, where I actually got in and started billing. And he, a lot of skilled nursing visits. So that a lot of opportunity.
We've all heard this phrase before. Nevin reminds me that you in business, you can fake it until you make it. And in some cases, that's what you have to do, because I've had people go out, talk to doctors. One doctor asked one of our early licensees, do you do credentialing? And he had not a clue what the doctor was talking about at the time. But all he said was, well, you know what? Yes, I've got people back at the office that know all about that. Let me get back with you and we'll get a meeting, instead of a meeting. Yeah, so
yeah,
that was
like,
us.
What is that?
So the answer to all your questions that you don't know the answers to is, I've got somebody back in my office though that's an expert in that, and that's us. That's us as a company. We are your support behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yes, and it's true, and the support is there, and it's very strong, and I appreciate what you guys have done for us. Oh, there's my cat. Sorry.
There's the kitty cat. Oh, and the dog wants up there too now.
Yeah, Jack.
Hi, Jack. Hi, Jack.
Excited, but sorry.
Oh well, he's a beautiful dog.
Thank you.
And what I got to see of the cat was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, she just
cats are not. They're not near as well. I started saying needy, but they just don't like the cuddle. Like you can tell, he just loves sitting there and looking at me on the screen and watching what's going on.
A big ham, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh, here's a question from Arfan. Says, are you still doing networking with BNI and Magma, MGMA, during this pandemic?
See, and that's the hard part, because I know that networking is a big, and with COVID, it's difficult. No, I'm actually not. We did have virtual meetings for a while, but that was right when I started really needing to focus on learning how to bill, and that was right when my clients became active. I got all my logins and all that stuff. Anyway, so I ended up, and it was right around the renewal time, so I decided to pause my membership. And then Magma did the same thing, so I decided to pause it. So I know that it's not the best advice, like go out there and do the networking thing when we're right in the middle of everything being kind of shut down. But for us, the referrals work. So if you can build networks with people who can refer to you, that's kind of what.
Well, and that's one of the things we do teach, is that you think of your network as the people that you know, also your warm market, all of your friends and relatives. If you let them know that you're in this business, some of them will just say to you out of the blue, well, you know what, I've got a brother-in-law who's a chiropractor, and he says he needs some help. So you'll get referrals even from people who are not doctors themselves, but just people who know doctors. Everybody knows a doctor.
Right, exactly.
You've ever been to a doctor? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole COVID thing has kind of thrown us. I'm going to interview Dr. Vicki Ratner here in a couple of weeks, and her view on this is that, Patrick, my business boomed because the doctors know they need help, and they can now focus on things that they didn't think they could focus on before, which is, shouldn't I get my billing in order? Shouldn't I outsource that to somebody who's a specialist? Now they're thinking clearly about that kind of stuff, because their practice has gone downhill so much. Many of them. Right. And there's others who are booming. My particular doctor, he's a DO, but he's also an alternative doctor. He's into all kinds of other things besides the standard of care. And he says, Patrick, my business is booming because we're just very careful. We bring people in, we take their temperature when they walk in, they have to be wearing a mask, or we provide one. And so, if it's done the right way, the doctor continues seeing people, but you can also see a lot of them and don't ever have to see them face to face nowadays.
Right. Exactly.
Let's see. Here's a good one from Dimitri. He says, Jana, what is the most profitable in your business, the billing or credentialing or audits? He knows that we can provide audits for the doctors. And credentialing is one of those things, boy, you got to know what you're doing with that, don't you?
Yeah, I did it. I helped out my one client, my family practice. He's very small, few payers, figured out how to do that. I worked with the front office. And it's an interesting overall, it's just interesting beast in and of itself. Process. Yeah. So we focus on billing. So that was the one thing I felt like I needed to pick a lane pretty much. In the beginning I was like, we'll do it all, and then I realized, well, I think I need to just get really good at one thing, and so we went with billing. So we help out with credentialing, but it's billing that we focus on. I haven't done the audits. I wouldn't know enough at this point to tackle any audits.
Well, and as you know, Jana, we make all of these ancillary services that you see here on the screen available to our licensees at no extra cost. It's a part of their license fee that they pay, but it's all optional. You may not want to learn about any of these things, and yet the more you look into them, some of them might be a great door opener for you to get in front of a doctor. They might not be interested in talking to you about billing, but maybe they do need help in their audits for Medicare. Maybe they need some audit guard code right. Maybe they need some things to do with codes that you don't know about. So we've got people who do. And for a fee that you pass on to the doctor, of course, they can do those things for you. You don't need to know a lot. We don't list there, but one of the things we do offer is we have licensees who are specialists in the credentialing. And that's doing the paperwork basically to get a doctor all signed up with the insurance companies and so forth. And that's a big headache for some doctors. So some people learn to do that and take that over. Yeah.
Don't they also help with negotiating contracts too?
There are people who will say to the doctors, yes, I can help you with the contracts, because once you've done billing enough, you kind of know, especially if you have several of one type of doctor, you know what should be paid, by those insurance companies. And if they're not paying the doctor what they should, then you can negotiate that. It's all negotiable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So some people do, some people don't. Yeah. All right. I'm just looking at the questions here. Jana, we're getting close to the top of the hour. This is when all the questions start pouring in, you see. People realize. But here's one from Eliak. Says, do you have clients outside your geographical area, Jana?
I do. My actual first doctor that I physically signed as, my client is in Texas, and I'm in California. And this particular doctor came to me through a referral, through a financial advisor who works specifically with doctors. I found him, and we ended up talking, and I told him what I do. And, if you're looking for doctors who, need help with their billing or, increasing their revenue, this is what we do. And he ended up referring a doctor to me that decided he wanted to open up his own practice. So that it took a year to finally get him up and running, but it was actually really a lot easier to talk to the doctors when they're about the electronic health record, the practice management system, iClaim and EMRX, because they're looking for that and they don't want a lot of costs out the door, right? Up front. And so it was a pretty great referral. And he ended up going with NextGen or iClaim and EMRX. And he's finally up and running. He's been going for 2 months now. But that was a year-long process. So, but he is in Texas, yes. So, you can do things. The only thing you have to consider is that billing Medicare in Texas is different from billing Medicare in California. Like there's different, you have to learn the insurance companies of their areas. So it keeps you on your toes and it keeps you researching, but it's very doable. And there's lots of ways now virtually where you can share information, HIPAA compliant, like iDocs now and stuff like that. Like there's ways of doing it so that even though you're not physically seeing them, you can.
Yeah. I have licensees who have basically no clients in their local area. They've all gotten all their clients outside their area. I mean, in other states. And I'm thinking, well, how does that happen? I think one lady said, well, the first person that I talked to was a cousin in another state that said, you know what, I was just talking to my office manager the other day about their practice and how it was doing. And she said, yeah, we're just having a problem collecting the money.
Yeah.
We do a lot of services for, but we don't focus on that. And so she referred her to her, and yeah, she signed her up. And then from there, referrals from that doctor kept growing. And so she says, I don't have hardly anybody here in my local area, but it's fine because you can do billing for doctors in all 50 states.
Yeah. Yeah.
Arlen wants to know, how often do you visit the practices, your clients, or meet with the doctors?
I actually met with one doctor today. The ones that are local, I pop into their office once a week. I just, Wednesday mornings, I just go and, run around and pick up anything that they have, but they're all close by. It's not necessary. I mean, they could scan everything and send it to me in a, folder or whatever, but I just kind of like to see them, check in, make sure everything's okay. Sometimes communicating, in person is easier.
Yeah.
But it's not necessary. And then, if some doctors like to meet more often than others, some are just kind of like, whatever, it's fine. And I always communicate with them, even though they don't necessarily want to, me to sit down and explain everything about their finances to them. It's fine. It just depends on what they like.
As long as they can look in their bank account and see money coming in on a regular basis, they figure, okay, she must be doing something right.
Right. But it's still important to let them know, like, this is what's going on.
Well, yeah, my wife and I did that when she had billing clients here locally. We thought, why not just go visit them, take them a box of candy or some cookies or donuts or, just something to say hi and give an excuse for showing up. And then, of course, they would sometimes tell us about things that we wouldn't have heard probably had we not seen them face to face. So if you do have local people, that's always good. But you could also have a monthly telemedicine meeting with your doctors too,
Yeah. You have to get on their schedule though.
Yeah, that's right.
Block it out.
Yeah. The Zoom platform is probably pretty popular out there right now. We use this GoToWebinar and the GoToMeeting, which they've been around longer than Zoom, but it just depends. There's some services out there that cost literally hardly anything at all to use. In fact, I think you can do a Zoom meeting for free now, up to 40 minutes or something like that. So
yeah,
pretty good. That's been a good business. I mean, the COVID's been good for Zoom.
Oh yeah, for sure.